everyone to the state of the department. My name is Saam. If you don't know who I am, I chair the department. I've been here for about a year and a half. I came from the University of Utah, and I've now been here for at least one complete academic year. And so this is the second time I'm doing this talk. And so hopefully I'll be able to make some comparisons, provide you with a little progress report on what's been going on, tell you a little bit about where I think we're going this year, what we might be able to accomplish now and into the future. So what am I trying to accomplish just with this talk? You know, there might be some new people to the department out there, so I want to introduce them a little bit and tell them what's going on here and show them some names and faces they may not recognize yet. There's some updates regarding significant changes over the past year, successes and challenges, some new, some old. Let's talk about the priorities for the coming academic year as well. And so I just want to say I do intend to show some highlights and some successes and things that have happened in the department. I'll highlight some of these. You all are so great that I couldn't possibly show everything that's happened in the last year, so please forgive me if you feel like there's something that might have been highlighted or I could have pointed out that I didn't. However, you should still let me know what I missed so that I can incorporate that into future talks that I might give trying to advertise and promote the department outside of the university, okay? So I'm asking for forgiveness ahead of time. I always start with what I think are really important things to us as a department. We have to ask ourselves why we're here and what we're doing. And this comes right from our strategic plan from 2009. I don't think it really needs much updating. It says it all. We want to be at the forefront of research strategically focused for our institution. We want to provide graduate training that provides in-class instruction with a world-class research experience. We want innovative, modern undergraduate education that includes a research experience. And we want to provide educational, professional, and community service. So for me, you can't talk about what the mission is without talking about values. And I think we need to have some common values as a department. The way I express these is the following. Students come first. It's why we're here. Okay? Undergraduate and graduate students providing that training. It's the product that people leave this university with degrees bearing the WSU and department name, and how they go out into the world and proceed and be successful is, we have a lot to do with that while we're here. Excellence, diligence, and integrity in scholarly pursuits, being part of the community, not apart from the community. I see us looking ever outward, ever externally instead of internally. We often have a tendency, and then there are good reasons. It has to do with the nature of the work that we do. A lot of times we get a little myopic. We're very, very focused on what we're doing and what we're trying to achieve. But we can't forget that in the long run, it's going to pay for us to look not inward but outward, to look to our community, to look to people we can collaborate with, to look, and I will mention this as a theme over and over, which is that I want to look at what we call physics and astronomy at WSU. And it's not necessarily just the things that happen in this building or in this department. And finally, something that those of you who know me know is really important to me, which is that we are all members of this department. And I want to create an environment where everyone, undergraduates, graduate students, postdocs, faculty members, staff members, everybody who is doing things on a daily basis to advance our mission as a department, to feel like they are part of a team and that they are valued. Okay. So just a review of where we are kind of by the numbers. We're at 15, for this coming year, we're at 15 full-time tenure-track faculty. That doesn't include faculty who will be on leave for the coming year, and I'll talk about that in a moment, phased retirements. And the university administrator, our vice president for research, his academic home is here in the department, but 100% of his effort goes into doing administrative work. We have 3 full-time teaching, that's instructor or clinical faculty, 4 affiliate faculty, and primarily I'm thinking about
those faculty who are strongly physics-oriented in shock physics and in, that should say ASL, the Applied Sciences Laboratory. 10 adjunct, approximately 10 adjunct faculty. That count is constantly going up and down based on questions that I asked. But there are those around, and many of whom who are active in this department and collaborate with our faculty. We have 6 full-time administrative and technical staff, 5 postdocs, 53 graduate students, all of whom are currently our PhD candidates, and something I'll touch on a couple of times, that we're up to 34 undergraduate majors, up from 28 a year ago, and that's going to be one theme of this talk, something I want to talk to the whole department about what we do in order to make that number even bigger. So here's my little theme, and my state of Washington is squashed, as is everybody on it, but I want to try to communicate the message that I really believe that what we should be talking about is physics and astronomy at WSU. And that means this building, it means other buildings on this campus, it means other campuses. We have people who are very important to us in Vancouver who provide instruction in introductory physics. We have representatives, adjunct faculty at LIGO. We have, this by the way, I should just simply say that these are affiliate faculty, some adjunct faculty, and faculty who are full-time at other campuses besides Pullman that I'm pointing to here. And so I'm including our physics-oriented faculty over in ISP, Jim Reliak and Marcus Knudsen, Rick Lytle, who works a lot with Matt McCluskey and also with Mark Kuzik, is an adjunct faculty member. We have these two, Hergen Eilers and Zhigang Yu, who are affiliate faculty in our department, who work at the Applied Sciences Laboratory in Spokane. Cheatham Kapan, who has connections at Pacific Northwest National Laboratory and is a faculty member in Tri-Cities. And Greg Mendel, whose appointment is at Caltech, but who spends a lot of time at LIGO Hanford. So just to give you this picture that there's a lot of physics with a lot of different people going on statewide, not necessarily just those faculty and students and people who are in this building or on this campus. So I'll talk a little bit about people who have left us in the last year, people who are transitioning. And so Sukant Bose, who I must emphasize right away is not leaving us. He is on leave this year to the Inter-University Center for Astronomy and Astrophysics in Pune, India. And this has a lot to do with the fabulous success of LIGO and the fact that he is a very prominent scientist and scientific advisor for LIGO India, which is one of the next observatories that's going to come online. Calvin Lin has announced that he is entering phased retirement. He's always been half appointed in our department and half appointed in engineering, and he begins his phased retirement this year. And Richard Lindsay, who is our staff member in academic programs and a familiar face when you walked in the office, is now a student services specialist at the WSU Graduate School. And so he left us for greener pastures, if you will. Not that I necessarily think they're greener, but he's a very good guy. So arrivals and returns, we welcome back Matt McCluskey, who was on sabbatical leave in the spring. Even though I saw quite a bit of him around, I just sort of felt like, officially he was gone, now he's back. I want to mention Brendan Brunner, who's Richard Lindsay's replacement, is in charge of academic programs and works in the front office. And our new postdoctoral fellow, who's going to be working for Jeff McMahon, this is Jin Zhang, coming to us from SUNY Stony Brook. And finally, I want to mention Jacob Turner, who is right here somewhere. So you can stand, raise your hand. That's Jacob. He's our new director of undergraduate laboratories. And as part of what I'm going to talk about being something very important to the department, our sort of refinement, our change, our working on our undergraduate curriculum and undergraduate program, we really expect Jacob to bring modern pedagogy and modern approaches to our laboratory courses, making them much more relevant, hopefully much more fun for our students. And that's the direction we're trying to go. I do want to give a shout out to Mark Weber. And many of you know Mark, and he was someone who, in the situation that we were faced with about a little over a year ago, stepped up and agreed, although he had very little experience with it, agreed to handle the job of running the undergraduate laboratories. I'm personally grateful. The department is grateful. He was also very generous and gracious in this transition to getting Jacob going on doing this job. So I just wanted to publicly say I'm very grateful, and I thank Mark for the great job that he did over the past year. One of our most important products, as I mentioned, is our students. These are the people we send out into the world with our degrees that say, you know, I learned what I learned, know what I know from WSU. We graduated 5 PhD students over the course of the last year, 3 master's students, and we had 8 bachelor's degrees awarded over the past year. And I don't have data on where everybody is. We did our best at coming up with what we do know, but you can see that there are some definite people have moved on to, or are moving on to graduate school, to industry, and to various other job opportunities. I want to highlight Dimitri Saberi just because he has a master's degree from us and no bachelor's degree. And so what I will say about that is that he is a high school student who just kept taking physics and ended up running through all of our master's courses as a high school student. He's a pretty... From what I understand, yeah, that's right, he did. From what I understand, he's a pretty bright guy. But anyway, just to show, we're very proud to have very proud to have awarded him a degree, even though now he's off to Stanford to get his bachelor's. Okay, so there you go. I just would like, for one moment, I'll just first of all introduce this administrative and technical staff that we have. There have been moments, and you all know that there have been budget difficulties and various other stresses in the last year. There have been moments where I have simply looked in the mirror and said, I could not be here, could not do this job if it weren't for the help of Robin Stratton and other members of the technical staff. I think this department is blessed with someone who's totally focused on our grants and does such a tremendous job with it, Tom Bush. I already introduced our new academic programs person, Brendan Brunner. Tom Johnson, of course, who's been here for quite some time. In fact, from what I understand, Tom is now a member of the Quarter Century Club at WSU, so he has a few stories to tell about the past. Laura Kruger, who takes care of our purchasing and travel. And as I've already introduced, Jacob Turner. Could I ask the staff just to stand very briefly and be acknowledged? You know, these folks... Thank you. There's just no way that we could do the jobs that we do, focus the way that we focus, just concern ourselves with, you know, with doing our science or doing our teaching or whatever it happens to be without the support of these great people. And you notice, we're a smaller department, but we're not tiny. And this is not a big number of people that do all the work in supporting us and taking care of us. Our current postdocs, I want to acknowledge Vandana Gokruv with Peter Engels, Terry McAfee, who works with Brian Collins, Sean Mossman, who works also with Peter Engels, Sheng Zhu, who works with me, and again, our new postdoc, Jin Zhang, who just arrived, or is arriving, I'm not sure. Is she here? Yeah. She is here? Okay, good. She's not in the room, but she's in Pullman. Yeah, okay, good. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so I always like to, one thing I'd like to do now, if those of you who are present, the first-year students, if you could stand and be acknowledged. Let's see, Jacob, Anesh, and Adam. Are you all here? Adam, hey. I want to give them a round of applause because many of us in this room who are faculty and who have gone through, or postdocs, and know what it's like to enter graduate school, to go to a new place for the first time, look down the tunnel and realize that there's no light yet, sort of accept the fact that this is an open-ended proposition because you're so passionate about doing research and learning physics that you want to do it. And so I just think that ought to be recognized and commended. So congratulations and welcome. We're very happy to have you here, and good luck as you go forward in the program. Okay? Now, there's maybe an 800-pound elephant in the room here. Why are there only 3? So I have to address that. Now, part of that does have to do with the fact that, we looked at the size of our program and the size of the faculty and decided that maybe this year we should have a few fewer graduate students than we've had in past years. But if I showed you this slide from last year, it's like 12 people. So 3 is not a few fewer. We did have 3 students defer admission until next year, so we're already +3 for next year before we start the process. And unfortunately, we had several students over the summer who had told us they were coming, decided they were not coming. And so it was really, not very much in our control that the numbers dwindled so rapidly. However, what I will say that we are doing is we are trying, we have a process now in place where we're looking at some applications for the spring semester. So we want to try and augment this class. It's important, I think, those graduate students who are here realize that, class unity is something that can be pretty important for making it through the tough parts of graduate school. And so we're going to try and do our best to add to this class and bring it up to a number that can form a reasonably cohesive group. And I say that to you especially too, that we are working to be able to do this. And I expect to be able to report to you next year that our entering class will be significantly bigger. Okay? So I'm going to get into some highlights. And again, I want to throw my caveat up there that, this isn't everything that happened, but this is a few things that happened, things that I was aware of, things that I was made aware of, and that I think are good. And so I'm going to share them with you. One is, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how I see our undergraduate program evolving over the next several years. But thanks to Michael Allen, also to Brian Collins, they went with me to Washington, D.C., to APS, to a conference way back in February, I guess it was. And we learned about building thriving undergraduate programs at departments. And one of the things we learned is that the first year seminar is a really important course. And so we undertook, and actually most of the work at the point after we got back from the conference is Michael's work, since he's teaching the course and developed it. But we changed our seminar course 188 from just parading our faculty in front of our students and talking about the research, which, is a good thing. Our faculty do good research. But what we were missing was telling our undergraduates how they fit into that picture. How they can get involved, what they do to get involved, how that's going to fit into their curriculum. So the emphasis is on integration with the department. Again, my theme of membership that I talk about a lot. Meeting the faculty. We just had the ice cream social in one of the meetings of that course where the students there got to talk to several faculty members about the department, about their research. And also focusing not just on research opportunities, which we have, but also career opportunities. Looking at these students and saying, hey, if you major in physics, you don't just have to go to graduate school. It's a great preparation for a lot of other careers. The emphasis in the course is on collaboration, working in groups. It meets in the bright new Spark building with all the fancy computers and toys and screens and windows, which is kind of nice. And it makes the first year students think they're going to get that for 4 years. The goal is for students to complete a small project in Physics 189, which is the next course in the sequence, also a 1-credit course, guided by a faculty member. We have 35 students enrolled in this course this fall. That's 35 potential physics majors. If we got half of these folks to stay as physics majors, we would bring our program up to 70 or 75 students in a few years. Okay? So I'm very optimistic about this. I'm very excited. I did go to the ice cream social. It was great. And I encourage our faculty and everybody in the department to get to know some of these young undergraduates and encourage them. So here's my more general piece on the undergraduate curriculum. There's a piece of news that I want to convey, which is that all of our courses offered in fall 2018, all of our undergraduate courses, I should say, that should say undergraduate, I didn't qualify it. You can understand why the graduate courses don't quite make the minimums because we only had 3 first-year students. But we made the minimum enrollment at least 15 students. That's the first time this has happened in 10 years or more. And it tells you that we have majors coming through the pipeline. This is already happening. Numbers are already going up. All right? So again, I encourage you, get to know these students. Encourage them to stay in the program. Ask them what they, how can you help them to stay? What advice can you give them or how can you guide them? The task that I've assigned the Undergraduate Studies Committee in 2018, 2019, and I will say that meeting is next week, so they may not know this yet, but their task is going to be to take a thorough look at the curriculum, degrees, tracks, emphases, and to propose changes. Propose changes that add more flexibility to our program, that allow students to choose more electives and different tracks, that design the curriculum from the ground up. What do we want them to know? And what do we want them to be able to do? And how do we assess in a way that actually tells us, yes, they know how to do this, yes, they know this. And to keep in mind that training in physics and astronomy can do much more than prepare students for graduate school. This is something that again, Brian, Michael, and I learned at this conference, is that a lot of undergraduate students have no idea that they can do so much more: law school, med school, start companies, be entrepreneurs, be foreign diplomats, do all sorts of things and call on the skills that they get and the ways of critical thinking they get from the physics major. The students don't know that. If they don't know that, then we have very little chance of attracting them. So we have to tell them. We have to show them that these opportunities are out there. So our goal, of course, is to attract and retain more majors. So we were fortunate enough, and I'll say this a number of times throughout this talk, that WSU is a fantastic place for people who come here and who are loyal and who give back. And we benefit as a department from donors who give back specifically to our department and help us, especially in these trying financial times, to be able to do some things to make the place a little bit better, to enhance the facilities that we have. So, and I'll start here, I'll thank Peter Engels, who was able to secure some money and to upgrade the upper division quantum lab, and to Brian Collins for doing basically the same thing with the electronics lab with new equipment using student technology fee funds. We remodeled and enhanced the tutoring room on the 3rd floor of Webster Hall, and that was thanks to alums Bobby Riley and Kevin Daly. We redesigned the office area for first-year is that right? Yeah, we redesigned the office area for first-year graduate students on the 3rd floor of Webster Hall. The idea there was to bring you together so that you'd, instead of being scattered around different floors of the building, that we could develop more cohesion among the classes as they came in by keeping you together. And then finally, the undergraduates in the room will be happy to know, and others, that we've newly remodeled the undergraduate major study. This is the study that is eventually to be renamed and dedicated to Tom Dickinson, who retired last year. And it's on the 12th floor of Webster Hall. So we thought, first of all, it's a nice new room. It's big. It's got a separate room with a couch for napping. All right, but it's also got whiteboards and whiteboard tables and a big computer screen. And we want our undergraduates to come up to the 12th floor. We want them to be visible. We want them to be visible to the instructors that are there and have offices there, to the administrative people. I want to know who they are. So I'm very glad that we have them up there, and I'm very glad that we're able to offer a nice new facility for them to study. Okay. Now this is what gets hard for me. I have to go, and I am going to look at my notes. So I usually frown on that, kind of try to look at it. But I'll say things wrong if I don't, okay? Because of course I don't know all the details of everybody's research, and there's so much of it, and it's so cool. One thing I do want to say is I came here because I thought I experienced the notion that this faculty, up and down, top to bottom, is productive, takes students, gets grants. And here it is again. New funding in the last 12 months totaling $2 million. Okay, so these 5 grants that are brand new. and this is the anticipated money that's going to come from them. I want to highlight the DOE Early Career Award that was received by Brian Collins. This is a 5-year, $750K total anticipated award. There's about 700 applicants for this, and only 59 people got it. And there's only one other Pac-12 school that has anybody that got this DOE Early Career Award. And it ain't Stanford, and it ain't Berkeley, and it ain't that school on the other side of the Cascades, and dare I say it, it's not the University of Utah either. So one other in the Pac-12. So this is pretty prestigious, and we're very proud of Brian, and this is obviously great for his research program. We also have 11 additional ongoing grants totaling another approximately $2 million in current and anticipated funding. And of course, this total doesn't include substantial ongoing funds at Shock Physics and at the Applied Sciences Laboratory, and that's something I want to emphasize too. Those are opportunities to do science, to do physics for our students, okay? In addition to what happens here in this building. Just recently, it was announced, I don't know exactly how recently, but this is in addition to what I just showed you, so this is on top of. This is Phase 2 NSF SBIR that was just awarded to Matt McCluskey and Rick Lytle, who together founded CLAR Scientific. And they also employ a former student, alum of our graduate program, Slade Jokla. And this was just awarded, and this has to do with a new type of confocal microscopy that's very good at analyzing materials. Right? I say that okay? All right, excellent. Excellent. So look, there are lots of people here doing lots of good work, and it shows because they're bringing in money, people that want to pay for the research productivity that's being generated here. This comes, again, from Rick Lytle in collaboration with Mark Kujic. This is, also involves graduate student at the time, now postdoc, Sean Mossman and Ethan Kroll, who's here. And this has to do with simulations of actually it has to do with looking, I'm going to look at my notes now because I know I won't get it right. Exact limits of nonlinear optics being determined by examining billions of quantum systems and selecting those satisfying the sum rules to ever-increasing accuracy. So this computation showed conventional systems should be able to reach the maxima, resolve the paradox of the many-state catastrophe. I Googled many-state catastrophe, and it gave me a list of catastrophes by state in the United States. But look, this is about, again, we have such an interesting and broad effort in materials. This is about materials characterization. This is about learning how to design things and tune parameters and what the limits are for optimizing new materials, okay? So this is a PhysRev letter, pretty cool. This is work from Professor Marston's group with the grad student Tim Daniel, and this was about the design of a corrected ultrasonic lens, so corrected for aberrations that allows a highly focused ultrasonic pulse. So you talk about doing very precise. If this is looking at the sort of the picture of the focus, and you can see how nice and symmetric this is. And this talks about doing very precise scattering experiments. And so this lens was developed by Professor Marston in collaboration with his student. Of course, I could not mention LIGO winning the Nobel Prize. In a certain sense, the discoveries of LIGO might have been in last year's talk, but the Nobel Prize came out last October, and the discoveries keep coming. They've come all throughout this year. And I just want to point out, I had a chance to be at NSF when Weiss and Thorne and Barish were there doing like a panel discussion, which was really cool. And again, this involves our faculty. I hate to see Sukant leave us for this year, but he's leaving us because this science is exploding and it's going to continue to explode. And he's in an extraordinary leadership position at LIGO India. And we have also other faculty, Matt Dewey and Michael Forbes, involved in the data and the information that's coming out of LIGO. And this is just, you know, the takeaway I got from being at this panel discussion was just simply, look, everything's been electromagnetic for 80 years. And now suddenly, there's something completely different. And now the opportunities to combine that with all of the electromagnetic spectroscopies that have been used to characterize the universe over the last many decades has a mind-bogglingly far future. And this department will be involved with that, and our faculty will be involved with that. The Cold Atom Laboratory on the International Space Station launched in May, and that's something that Peter Engels and his group is intimately involved with. And this, of course, has to do with I mean, I think it's pretty remarkable that anybody makes anything that remotely resembles a Bose-Einstein condensate. Now you got to fly it in 0G around the Earth. And of course, the idea here is that gravity is one of the things that causes these condensates to disperse or break up. And so if you take gravity away, then you have, you know, the ability to look at these things for a lot longer and in a lot, I guess, more pristine condition. So that's going on. And then finally, I want to point out, too, that Sue Dexheimer, of course, spent a year before last at the NSF as a program director, as a visiting program director. And she brought us back, in fact, gave us a colloquium this last year talking about the Quantum Leap Research Initiative. And this is one of the 10 big ideas announced by NSF as promising directions for future research, and it will drive NSF's long-term research agenda. It focuses on fundamental research involving quantum phenomena such as superposition, entanglement, and its application to things like communications, sensors, quantum computing. And that's something, in fact, I just had a meeting today with the Vice President for Research and Peter Engels and Michael Forbes and our new dean to discuss the future of the quantum initiative here at WSU. What can we do? What can we build? What future can we create? And so the higher ups are taking notice. Quantum is the new nano, okay? And we already have considerable expertise here, and we're really hoping to be able to capitalize on that. And so a number of things that came out of this activity have actually come to fruition and are being implemented. So opportunities of potential interest to people in the department include a summer school on quantum science that's just for postdocs and graduate students. It's operated by NSF and DOE. It will likely continue. It's currently slated to go through 2020. And calls have been announced for individual investigator exploratory research that can support quantum states for study of materials that can support quantum states for computing, and also for collaborative proposals for the development of devices based on quantum technologies. Okay? So very active, very broad, very interesting, very exciting research going on all over the department. I know I didn't hit it all, and there's plenty more, and you can tell me all about it, and I'm happy to highlight that as well in future talks. So just a couple of service outreach type highlights. You may remember that we had the Stevenson lecture here in January, and thanks in part to Peter Engels and his relationship with Bill Phillips, we were able to get him here to give this talk, and this was the entirely jam-packed room 16 with standing room only and people going out the doors for this talk, and Phillips was just amazing, and he stayed for like 2 hours after the lecture, and he answered every last question that came from a child, which I thought was really remarkable. And so this is something I want to keep doing, and I'm going to come back to this toward the end. This is something I want to keep doing. So I'll talk about the Distinguished Colloquium Series, which we're going to keep doing, but I really want to have at least one talk a year where we can advertise a public lecture, bring in people from outside, invite people to bring their kids, have a good engaging speaker that can really allow us, again, to look outward toward our community. Okay, so I thought this is a great success. This is some pictures from the Solar Derby at the Franklin Elementary School Science Fair back in March, and it involved Brian Collins and graduate student Maren Mossman, Victor Murcia, and Cassie Phillips, an undergraduate. And so this was just a thing that they did as part of the science fair at the elementary school, and had the kids learning a lot about how you generate power from light. Okay? I know we do a lot more, so I don't have time to mention all of the things that we do. But again, let me know. Okay? So I want to say a few things about perhaps more mundane issues now. We're getting close to the end. I promise it won't be too bad. But I do want to put us into some context and give you some information about things like financial challenges that we'll be facing this year. So if you don't know, WSU is comprised of 11 large units. They're called colleges mostly, and here they are. Education, communication, medicine, of course, is the newest one up in Spokane. Connors is kind of the 800-pound gorilla in this group. And here we are in arts and sciences. Okay? So in arts and sciences, we encompass 5 schools, 10 departments including us, 5 programs, which tend to span departments and have some specific theme, 16 centers, institutes, and museums, including the Institute for Shock Physics next door and the Applied Sciences Laboratory, 550 faculty members in the College of Arts and Sciences, and it ranges from music to chemistry, from fine arts to informatics. It's truly broad. Okay? And you can imagine that all this under one roof is a little bit hard to contain sometimes. So one of the things that's happened this year is we have a new dean. If you haven't met him yet, his name is Matt Jockers. He's the new College of Arts and Sciences dean. And he's probably heard this from me already 10 times, okay, in the times that I've met with him. So, he understands the message, and we're working together on this. We do think that it's high time that we're able to hire a new faculty member or members here in physics and astronomy, and that's what we're hoping to be able to do. I showed you this slide at this time last year, and Darryl DeWald was the dean of Arts and Sciences. He was the one that essentially hired me to come in as chair. I told you that I was on the search committee for the new dean. The goal is to hire by the end of the academic year. We were able to do that. I think we found ourselves a very good person. I'm excited to be working with Matt, and I'm optimistic about the future. I want to just thank real quickly Larry Hufford and Rebecca Kraft. They were co-associate deans that basically served as the interim dean until we could get Matt into place this past August. So this was the process. I regretted Darryl leaving because he hired me, and he also, I thought, was a champion for the physical sciences. And we wanted to find somebody, and I hope we have, in Dean Jockers, who has a similar gusto for the physical sciences and will represent us well in a very, very broad college. So again, I'm going back a year and telling you, what did I show you last year about our financial challenges? That there was going to be a new budget review process. The units, the schools and colleges in deficit spending have to develop recovery plans, and all the units did that. And the only point I want to make here is that the spending cut, well, actually 2 points I want to make. The spending cut of 2.5% a year for 3 consecutive years was done by unit. That means the College of Arts and Sciences was asked to cut 2.5% per year for 3 years. Okay? It's a big college. And not only that, but this was supposed to be system-wide, so it includes, all of our other campuses in addition to Pullman. Okay? So the idea that, everybody's cutting, across the board by this amount, and it's going to have to continue this way, I don't think we know yet exactly what the budget landscape is going to look like in years coming. And especially we don't know this, and here's my new slide for this year, the impact of the budget situation. Oh, by the way, we did, in response to this, cut non-salary spending in the department by more than 8% from fiscal 17 to fiscal 18. I hope that we did this without inflicting, too much pain. And as I said, we're very grateful to people like our donors who enabled us to continue doing things like the Distinguished Colloquium Series and upgrading rooms and so on and so forth while we were still cutting spending. And, I will say very briefly that the fact that we have a smaller class this year of incoming graduate students, which I don't want to be the norm, but the fact is we do have a smaller class this year, coupled with all of this new grant money that the department has, means I actually went very quickly from the situation of too many students wanting TAs and not enough TAs to too many TAs and not enough students who wanted them. Okay? I'd rather have the latter problem. All right? I'll figure out how to staff our classes. I'm very encouraged and enthusiastic about the fact that we have more students going on to research assistantships and focusing on the research they need to finish their degrees. So this statement, the impact of budget situation going forward is not clear, depends on the new dean, depends on the overall performance of the entire WSU system. It's purposely vague. All right? I'm just going to choose to be optimistic right now because I know that a dean coming in has probably, if he's with it, has been able to leverage at least something, all right, from the administration that will hopefully favor us. So, and I will say that I've already talked about the idea of hiring with the dean this year, and I'm cautiously optimistic that we will get to move forward this year with a new faculty hire. And as always, with graduate students in good standing, I pledge that you will all be supported. One way or another, regardless of the situation that you find yourself in, we will make sure that all of our graduate students are supported. What do I think the priorities are? And I am coming to a close. Faculty hiring, I've already mentioned. It's always going to be a very, very high priority. I talked about looking closely at our undergraduate program this year and seeing what changes we can make with the goal of attracting and retaining more undergraduate students as majors. Student recruiting. This statement, Physics and Astronomy at WSU, just again, what I want to get is the message more to our students, to the people who are involved in doing research and various things in the department, that physics and astronomy at WSU isn't just this building in Pullman. It's all over the state, it's next door, it's up in Spokane, it's over at PNNL, it's at LIGO. Okay? That's the message I want to get across. We want to expand research opportunities for our students. And I think that's one obvious, logical way to do it. I put this up on my priorities last year, and I will freely admit that we did some things, but not as many things as I hoped. So I would like to use our web presence to enhance visibility, improve student recruiting, also for better internal communication. In other words, hey, there are all these undergraduates that are looking for research opportunities, and maybe there's faculty out there that have research opportunities. Can't we all just put a couple lists on the web and say, you meet you? Okay, so that's the kind of thing that I'm thinking about. And of course, development is always on this list. I've mentioned several times, we survive in large measure because of the generosity of people who have come before you, people who are alums, people who are committed to WSU and to this department. And so we will keep cultivating that aspect and hopefully using it to enhance everybody's experience and to enhance our facilities here. I want to say that the Distinguished Colloquium Series is back for this year. So this fall's lineup includes these three individuals, Christoph Böhmer from the University of Utah, Ronald Walsworth from Harvard, and William Unruh from the University of British Columbia. And just as a reminder, these distinguished, we struggled with this name for a while, those of you who know me, and remember that we developed this last year, because I don't want people to think that our other colloquia are undistinguished, okay, because they're not, okay? It's just what we do is we take a few in each semester, we highlight them, we have some additional social events, so there'll be a reception with food and drink, opportunities for meetings with students. And these are not necessarily the most senior people or the most accomplished people. They're the people that are doing very good research and people that we feel can give a really great dynamic presentation. And so if I had to tell you, we're all very busy. It's hard to make the colloquium every week. But if I had to tell you the ones to make, if you were just, all other things being equal, try to make these, okay? And I just want to acknowledge Diane Bender, who's the widow of former professor Paul Bender in our department, who has provided a lot of financial support so that we can bring in the speakers for this series. I also want to point out, here's my pitch. So this year the public lecture is going to be in October, late October, and it's going to be delivered by Ron Walsworth. So Walsworth will come and give the regular colloquium on Thursday, and he's going to give a public lecture on Friday. And I've heard him speak before, and I've heard him deliver public lectures, and they're very, very good. And I think this is another opportunity, again, to bring the community in to our building, to our department. And I can't promise the amazing experience that we had with Bill Phillips last year, but I do think that the caliber of speaker and his ability to connect with a general audience meets the criterion. So that's what we're going to do this year. I hope we're able to do at least one of these every year. So that's it. I'll thank you for your attention. Just a couple of closing thoughts about me. I'm values driven. I expect to hold you accountable, and especially for you to hold me accountable for acting from our values as a department. The job of any leader is to serve the community he or she is leading. I've always believed that. I still believe that. And feedback is always welcome. You can't possibly offend me. Tell me how we can do better. Tell me how I can do better. Chair's office hour happens Wednesdays 3 to 4 p.m. for students only. Okay, so undergraduate and graduate students, you just can walk in for that hour during the week, during the semester. I'll remind you that there's a graduate student town hall that's coming up Friday, September 21st at noon. I will attend. The graduate advisor, Brian Collins, will be there as well. You can always make an appointment by contacting Robin to meet with me, or just send me an email. Okay, again, I really welcome feedback. I want to know what's going on with you. I want to know how we can do better. And with that, I'll close and thank you so much for your attention and wish you an excellent start to the new academic year. And if anybody does have any questions, no pressure, but I'll be happy to take a few if anybody has any specific questions. No? Okay, I've answered them all. All right, thanks again.